Good morning, folks. The real Captain Kirk here, live from Weather Trends 360 Studio in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It is the 9th of March. For all those, say, stupid devices that did not automatically change, we did spring ahead. So again, if you have your microwaves and cars and certain things that don't seem to change, it did change last night. So again, another sign of spring is here. Another sign of spring is here, this super worm moon. Worms are starting to come out here, out of the ground, as the soil temperature warms up. So that's why it's called the worm moon tonight. 14% brighter, theoretically 13% bigger. It is closer, not necessarily bigger, but 30% closer. So it does appear brighter and bigger. Saw a sneak peek of that last night. Again, so something to look forward here to this evening. Looking at snow cover here over the weekend, 6 March. 57% of us had snow on the ground last year. That was just almost off the charts, near record. Average is about 35%. And then this year we're making a flip-flop the other way to a near record low, only 19%. So that's the least in many, many decades here across the country. So very few of us have snow on the ground due to the really warm weather we've had here to start March. Looking at this week, 9 through 15 March, about 5.8 degrees warmer than last year, 6th warmest in 35 years, so much above average temperatures for pretty much the whole country except maybe the Pacific Northwest. Pretty much the whole country is trending warmer than a year ago. Wettest in 4 years, 4th wettest in 35, so much above average precip here. Snowfall is actually down 61%, so not a lot of snowfall out there, at least in 4 years across the country. We'll have to watch next week 16 through 22 March, for another severe weather outbreak. But overall, 6.3 degrees warmer than last year, 5th warmest in 35 years, with much above average temperatures for the eastern half of the country. But you see that cold air moving into the west and the plains. And again, anytime you have cold and warm clash, you can have some severe weather in the middle. So we have to watch Texas to Tennessee again for, again, 'tis the season. Again, obviously the severe weather season starts in the south, progresses north as we go through the spring. So wettest in 8 years, 6th wettest in 35 years nationally, much above average precip next week. Snowfall, we'll have to watch. There's a potential system going through the central plains and the upper Midwest next week. So snowfall could be more than last year, and 11th most in 35 years. We'll have to see about that with above average snowfall. Looking at one thing we've been very concerned about, and I've been talking about this for many months now, is just a cyclic pattern that just seems very, very favorable for a very active hurricane season here in the Atlantic. I know we're still a couple months away before it officially kicks off, but just thought we'd give you a heads up. We're very, very concerned about Florida and New England. So a little different. We haven't had New England on our high-risk area in probably 5, 6, 7 years at least. So we're looking at 20 named storms, 10 hurricanes, 5 major hurricanes, and very concerned about some landfalling threats, again, in that Florida, New England year. Whether this is a 2012, while there's some parallels to 2012, we'll have to watch. Obviously, that was the Sandy year. So again, just something to be mindful of as we go into the season ahead here. One of many factors is this La Nina event. All the models are pretty consistent. We're for sure headed to La Nina. Whether it gets into the moderate strong phase, that's to be determined this fall. But what that means is just less wind shear across the Atlantic. We have very, very warm waters in the Atlantic, both the Gulf Stream and across the subtropical Atlantic. So again, a lot of conditions, a lot of other cycles beyond just this that suggest, again, something to be concerned about and at least monitor as we go into the active hurricane season. Thought we'd end here with a couple clients on Wall Street that actually were singing our praises here this past week. So we'd like to share that with you, and we will be back here this time next week.
We continue to be amazed that more and more companies don't use weather trends and their forecasting ability. Quarter after quarter, particularly during bad periods, we hear numbers of retailers complain about the weather. It comes up during certain periods of the year a lot. So why don't more companies use weather trends to help them with their forecasting ability is sort of a question and enigma to me. Same thing goes with the investment community. Why are more and more investors not thinking about weather? It comes up in terms of consumer demand. It influences how retailers are thinking. And with everybody trying to get an edge, weather is critical. Weather Trends International's forecasting ability is spot on every year. And not only do they predict a month out, a quarter out, a year out, we get all that information. It should go into everybody's inputs and how they think about investments across the board.
Hello, I'm CEO Captain Bill Kirk with Weather Trends International. I'd like to share with you some of our 2020 insights and what we see for you in the year ahead. I'd like to start off with Q1, which we are very bullish on. We actually think that Q1 is going to be one of the best in several years. Much warmer, drier spring, great for seasonal merchandise sales, great for retail sales, almost across the board. As we jump ahead to Q2, we think that also will be very good. Q1 is certainly the best of 2020, but Q2 is good as well. We're a little concerned as we get into Q3. We do think that back to school is going to be awesome with a much colder, wetter season. Gets people off the lake, the beach, and you're going to be thinking, back to school in that September timeframe. A little nervous as we get into the election season, October, November, not only because of the election, but we also have a very warm, dry fall forecast, which is a negative. So a lot of that merchandise is going to stack up as we get into the holiday shopping season. The other factor to watch out for Q3 is we really think you're going to see a lot of hurricane activity. We're very bullish on a very active season. I think there's going to be at least 20-some storms. We're very concerned about major landfalling threats for the Northeast, New England. Whether it's a Sandy type year, certainly risk for New England and Florida. With that, folks, we hope you have a great year.
Weather trends in the year ahead forecast has been very helpful to us for the past decade. What it does is really help inform us in terms of how the comparisons look. Will it be cold or hot? Will there be rain or adverse weather? And this factors into how we think about traffic, how we think about the consumer, and risk and opportunities in terms of how the sales performance will be, as well as how businesses should plan their inventories.
The reason we use weather trends versus some of the other weather predictors out there is because Bill's been right. And Bill's been right for 10 years, 10, 15 years, and he's right 6 months out, 12 months out, doesn't change his forecast, sticks to it. And as a result, he's been critical to our work.